I've done far worse than kill you. I've hurt you, and I wish to go on hurting you. I shall leave you as you left me, as you left her, marooned for all eternity in the center of a dead planet. Buried alive. Buried alive. Khan! So, Tarkir. Hi, how you doing? Welcome to Turn Zero Lost, hosted by the Magic Engineers.
Fucking peeked your microphone just for the bit.
Gotta do it for the bit, man. I'm David. I'm definitely not Khan. With me today are Captain Cook. Captain Cook? What? No, fucking Sherry and Elijah.
Hello.
In case you couldn't figure it out by the fact that I'm a giant nerd, today we're talking about Khans of Tarkir, the third in our installment of retro set reviews. And this set has a very personal place for me because this is the set where I got into Magic during Return to Ravnica block, and I played it through Theros. But this was the block that made me fall in love with the game. So it's one I really want to do justice to. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the lore of Khans of Tarkir. Lore Master, if you would please.
The lore of Khans of Tarkir. Alright. Well, I probably should have done a little more research on this one, shouldn't I?
It's pretty simple. There's not that much to it.
They're dragons, they're people. That's the set.
The dragons are dead.
Yeah, the dragons are dead in this one. So basically, for those who are unaware, Khans of Tarkir is kind of in the middle of this whole storyline where things are going wrong in Tarkir. All the dragons are dead, and there's a whole possibility of, a new timeline being established at the end of it. The story is mostly focused around, from what we know, it's focused around Sarkhan and the aftermath of him being a thrall of Nicobolas. So basically, he goes to Tarkir, which I believe is his home plane, from what I recall, and he's crazy. He's a little bit crazy, and
he also really likes dragons.
Yes, he's extremely
Dragon D's nuts on your chin.
Yeah, basically, he loves dragons, and he wants to find a way to bring them back. So the way he is told to bring them back is by a little ghost guy by the name of Ugin. We all know who Ugin is. If you don't know who Ugin is, stop listening, go listen to something else about Ugin for real quick, and then come back. But Ugin,
also known as Uwugin.
Ugin is dead, long dead, and at this point, he's just kind of like the remnants of his spirit are left behind to try to guide Sarkhan to find the doorway, quote unquote, find the doorway. And in finding the doorway, meaning you need to find some little thing that allows him to go back in time and save Ugin from dying to Nicobolas, because that is the most important part of the timeline here, where things are not quite right. The biggest reveal there, though, is that Soren also finds this. So basically, Soren Markov and Sarkhan kind of intersect in the middle of this whole thing. And Soren is looking for Ugin because the thing's going wrong on Zendikar at some point. He's like, well, why didn't Ugin show up? And he went looking for it. Finds out Ugin's long dead. And Soren's like, well, everything's doomed because we can't stop the Eldrazi from coming, fucking shit up. So might as well just give up. And that's kind of the lowdown of it all. Is Khans of Tarkir doesn't really finish on a happy note, from what I can tell.
Yeah, it's not a very... the story is not exactly what I'd call upbeat in this.
Yeah.
So a lot of the cards that we see in Khans of Tarkir are representative of the 5 major clans of said Tarkir. They are Abzan, which is represented by green, black, and white. They are Sultai, which is represented by black, green, and blue. Mardu, which is represented by red, white, and black. Jeskai, which is represented by blue, red, and white, and Temur, represented by green, blue, and red. And the idea of this set, and from a design perspective, is that it's a tricolor set. There are a lot of big cards in this set that work specifically for 3 colors and do a lot of big, splashy things, and mana fixing is important, and you got to have that. Thankfully, there's plenty of options because this set also heralds the return of 5 fetch lands the very first time they appear, I believe.
Woo!
Yeah, you got some Windswept Chief.
Also, the last time that they will ever appear in a standard set.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, big oof there. Yeah, Windswept Teeth, Floodplain Strand, Plued Delta, Bloodstained Mire, and Wooded Foothills all made their debut in this set.
I actually don't think that is true.
You don't think it's true?
Think you can edit this. I can edit. I would say we can edit this out. I can edit this out later.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought that these were the original.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. They were originally an Onslaught.
Yeah, I was like, these were the old border ones. The new ones haven't had an old border. The other set.
Oh, completely excised that entire part where I said they were new.
Nope, we're leaving all this in.
God damn it. Making me look like an idiot. How dare you? That's fine. I'm an idiot. So in addition to that, there's also plenty of mana fixing options in this set as well because, again, 3-color, your mana base has to be pretty solid to run a lot of these cards. So there's things like the Banners series, which taps for their respective color of mana. There's plenty of cards that also provide mana to all individual choices. There's also tricolor lands, which are tapped, but they are very useful in splashing what you need to do. In general, the draft environment in this set might be the best draft environment I've ever played, hands down. Not even think it's that close. Maybe Innistrad is like the only set that comes close, but this, to me, I think is better.
Mm-hmm.
It's so... Go ahead.
I think it's one of the most well-regarded draft sets ever. Like, it allowed, because of the number of multicolored cards and the number of options that were on the table and abilities to mana fix, I think it is, and still was, it's, if not the best, it is among the best in terms of environments.
That being said, not all the cards in this set were very well received. There are 2 blue cards in particular that merited bans in nearly every constructed format almost immediately, which is pretty impressive. Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise both received extensive banning across most formats. I think they're only really legal in Vintage and Commander, actually.
Yeah.
So
Dig Through Time sees Legacy play, if I remember right.
Oh, sure. That makes sense.
It might. Not very much.
But I know Treasure Cruise definitely doesn't, because that card's just ridiculous. So
yes.
You'll see them on screen right now. They both take advantage of a mechanic called Delve, which you can exile cards from your graveyard to cast it for 1 mana less for each card you exile. And they basically, like, with 7 cards in the graveyard, which you're likely to have, especially if you're playing, what was it, Dredge?
Yes.
Then Treasure Cruise literally becomes another copy of Ancestral Recall.
Delve in principle is a good mechanic.
Yes.
Like, the idea of it, like, I understand why they went through with this and how, but also how I can't believe they missed, like, I wonder if I have, like, 2 Bazaar of Baghdad's out that I can play Ancestral Recall as well.
Yeah, those cards were not great. Even in Limited, they were all absurd instant picks as soon as you saw them. Didn't really matter what colors you were in because, again, the set's very splashable. I saw, obviously there's a lot of 3-color decks. I've seen plenty of 4-color decks in this set. I've even seen a couple of 5 colors, which they all get particularly crazy in the mana bases. But they're very fascinating. It's just a lot of ways you can go. It's a very open set for draft, and there are obviously cards that are better than others, and we'll talk about some of those in a minute. But in general, like, it is as much a canvas to paint artwork as it is a competitive game, and that really appeals to me. So,
one last note on the story. I should make a quick correction on my timeline here. So the Khans of Tarkir is the first set in the Tarkir block. This basically is the OG timeline where things are bad, all the dragons are dead. In this timeline as well, Narset dies by the power of Zergo. So yeah, she's dead in this timeline, and Sarkhan goes back in time. That's when the Fate Reforged story starts.
Okay, so I think I've got too many pet cards on this set to list off. So I'll start with Eli so he can list his off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I wanted to do mine.
You can do yours.
Yeah, go ahead, Cherry, by all means.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think this one almost goes without saying, and I believe we all have a good spot in this set for this card, and it is the one, the only, the most pointy creature in this set. Siege Rhino.
Overpowered.
I love this card.
It is the definition of overpowered card. It is the epitome of pushed Magic design. This was when Magic took a turn. This card is the subject of a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of documentaries about the idea of this card. It was when people realized that the power creep is real, and it is coming, and it is getting worse.
Some say it still hasn't stopped.
It has not stopped since this card was printed, and we can show you the graph if we need. We don't really have a graph, but the principle.
We can draw a graph.
We could literally put an arbitrary exponential curve on the screen right now, and it would work.
Yep.
So what Siege Rhino does, it is you need one generic white, black, green. Okay, so to start here, it's a 4 cost in 3 different colors. In this set, that's not a problem, but it's still you think it's a difficult cost. In reality, it's not. It's a creature rhino with trample, so off to a good start. And when it enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 3 life, and you gain 3 life. It is a 4/5. This is a 4-mana 4/5 with upside.
A lot of upside.
A lot of upside.
Yeah, this card is a great blocker. It is a great attacker. It's a 6-point life swing when you cast it successfully, and you will cast it successfully. In Standard, I know this was almost always a 4 of run because the card is just so good. It just does so much what you want it to do. What can be said? I love this card. This to me is this is a pushed card, absolutely. But in my opinion, it's a pushed card that is designed correctly. Because it's still killable. Yeah, it's still killable. You can still counter it. The 6 life swing is significant, but it's not crippling. And it's just as vulnerable to removal as anything else.
Yes, and another important note, this card created a deck that otherwise would just not exist. That's called Junk. Abzan Junk. And that's a beautiful deck in even the Eternal formats. And this card sees fringe play even today now. Because people wanting to make creative decks around it. And they make it work. And it is to be said that this 4-cost card in the Eternal formats is still seeing play every once in a while. That proves how strong this deck is. Or this card is. And all the decks based around it. It's awesome. This is a wonderful card, great artwork, and it's we could spend hours talking about how much we love this card.
This is one of my top 5 favorite Magic cards of all time. Straight up. Siege Rhino is probably one of my favorite Magic cards. It's probably my favorite creature, which is saying a lot. Mm-hmm. Just what a wonderful card.
Yes. Also the best Rhino in the game.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On that note, we are going to move to my next one, which is going from a happy thing to a
we hate
not
you.
So happy. This card is 1 generic artifact. I'm waiting to say the name till the end. When another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent mills a card. Now, this card is Altar of the Brood. One of, I think, the best rares that snuck up on people. This is an insane card. Especially if you have a Yarok deck or things that multiply enters the battlefield triggers. This card is crazy. And it is a pain in the ass to play against. It is oppressive. This card is is what I hate to face but love to play. And everyone can... Am I correct in assuming that, fellas?
Yes.
Yeah, I hate playing against this card, honestly.
I love being that card, and I hate playing against that card. It's just the fact that it's 1 mana, I think, makes it so obscene, and it can slot into almost any kind of mill deck. It can slot into slow burn mill, it can slot into turbo mill, it can slot into combo, and it's good in all of them.
It's a very versatile card. For a mill card, it is versatile because even if you don't run any other mill cards, for example, my Yarok deck doesn't run a lot of mill. I think this is the only mill card. It still will fill up the graveyards for the plundering with some of my other enters the battlefield cards. This card is it's so easy to get value out of it. that's like a turn 1 Altar of the Brood, you immediately become the enemy. Like
Yep.
immediately.
Everyone wants you dead.
Yeah, I think the most notable example of playing against this card is against Norin the Weary.
Yes.
Because this card in Norin the Weary makes everyone want to kill the Norin player, and they can't because they are deprived of so many resources.
This card is the definition of incremental advantage. If you don't understand the idea of how drawing cards gets you an advantage, or how reducing other people's resources gets you an advantage, play against Altar of the Brood.
Watch how many lands you mill.
This card I think is actually a very good teaching piece too, because it actually makes you understand, like, even cards that doesn't draw you, but in a way it's drawing you cards every time your 3 other opponents mill. That's 3 cards in the graveyard every single time. If you have a deck that, like, every time a card enters the graveyard it does damage, you want to have Altar of the Brood. You need it. It's great. This is such a good card. It's only getting better. Every new set it gets a little bit better, and it's awesome. To end on a fun note of my 3 favorite cards, this is a personal favorite of mine. It is Ugin's Nexus. Ugin's Nexus is 5 generic legendary artifact. If a player would begin an extra turn, that player skips that turn instead. If Ugin's Nexus would be put into a graveyard from the battlefield, instead exile it and take an extra turn after this one. This is the most roundabout way to get an extra turn and a combo with extra turns, and that's why I love this card. Because there's so many weird combos that you can do with this card that it's just like that you wouldn't be able to do with basically any other card. Because what extra turn card cares about going into the graveyard from the battlefield? That's absurd. Like, this is just like, it's a fun card. It prevents people from taking extra turns when it's on the battlefield. And then when you're ready to get rid of it, you just combo off for infinite turns and you have a great time. What do you think, Eli? I know you love this card.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to put it on my list so bad, but I can't. I don't want to repeat cards. So to put it simply, drafting a Founder of Latnam with this card. It's a 2 card combo. You
There's also a million 3-card combos with this card.
Or if you want to do like a little more complicated 4-card combo, you can do an Osphir with Isochron Scepter, Pull from Eternity.
Ooh.
Yeah,
that's just mean.
See, anything that can get it back. So even if you just have Isochron Scepter and Pull from Eternity and a way to get it out of the graveyard consistently, there you go. You have your combo right there. You just need enough mana to pull it off. But yeah, I love this card, and I wish I could just put it into any like random ass deck because it's just, I love it. It's so good.
And it's kind of one of the few extra turn spells that you really can't hate because it requires, like, all the combos are usually really mana intensive to get off.
Yeah, unless it's one of those like 1 card plus another card.
Yeah. Well, would you like to go next, Eli?
Yeah, I can go next. That way we can have David do his raving.
Yeah.
We already talked about Siege Rhino, so I'm just saying it as a meme because everyone, when we were making the script for this one, both David and Sherry had Siege Rhino on this, which is kind of silly. I didn't really know much about Siege Rhino. It's pretty good card. So no need to talk anymore on it. The card I will talk on though is a card that is now legal in Modern, Pauper, and a couple other cards and a couple other formats that it's making huge impacts in. That is Monastery Swiftspear. So Monastery Swiftspear is a 1/2 human monk that costs 1 red, and it has haste and prowess. If you don't know what prowess is, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until the end of the turn. Red decks love this card because it helps them get off to a pretty nice advantage where they have a 1/2 that can probably block anybody's first turn play. And then as you're playing a red deck, you usually are casting a lot of non-creature spells to be able to deal burn damage or just kind of get rid of pieces on the board. And it gives you a small advantage every time you attack with this thing. It's a very quick get it out and start attacking right away type of card. And that's why I really like the most about it. It's a simple but effective card.
It is legal in basically all formats,
Yes.
and it's played.
It's good in most formats.
It's played in almost every format.
Yeah, it sees a play in just about every format now. And the only reason why it's legal in Pauper is because of a master set. So that's your little fun fact. If it hadn't been printed as a common in that set, it wouldn't have been legal in Pauper. On to my next one. So it's also another simple one. I'm a very simple guy with simple needs. It's Surak Dragonclaw. Surak Dragonclaw is a human warrior legendary creature. He's a 6/6, and he costs 2 green, blue, red. And he has Flash. Great. He can't be countered. Also great. Creature spells you control can't be countered. Even amazing. And then all other creatures you control have trample. So, Teamer Stompy really likes this. I like Stompy. I don't play Stompy enough. That's because I just don't own decks that do Stompy. But when I play Stompy, I have a great time with it. Basically, all you're going to do is you're going to make your boys big, and then you're going to cast bigger boys, and then give them trample. And then you're going to give this guy on the battlefield, and your opponents are going to hate you. I just like it. Simple and effective. Once again, my little power guy in the background of my head that's outside of the combo space in my brain loves this card.
Yeah, this was actually a commander I had for a dragon deck I was working on. He's really good for that because you get him out quickly, and he also does a great job protecting your dragons most of the time.
Yeah, especially because they can't be countered anymore, too.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, giving your flying monsters trample as well means that damage will always get through.
Yep.
So
he's Stomp.
Yeah. There are other better dragon commanders, though, than him, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think he goes well in the 99 of, like, one of the... I can't remember the name of the creature at this point. It's one of the ones from one of the Dungeons & Dragons sets that lets you copy dragons. I think... I don't know. I don't remember the name of it, but beside the point. Pretty good in the 99 for that deck.
He's one of the most fair
Teamer commanders.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. He's extremely fair.
Extremely fair. Not super broken, which is always a fun thing to have out in your commander. My final card is another simple yet effective card, Abzan Falconer. So Abzan Falconer is a human soldier creature. It is a 2/3, and it costs 2 and a white. He has Outlast for 1 white, where you pay a white and you can tap it to put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. And Outlast only has a sorcery. And then each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has flying. So this card was mostly brought to my attention because of a human precon that existed for Midnight Hunt. And I helped Sherry and I helped one of our friends kind of revamp that deck. And this is one of the cards that we were like, well, this card has to stay in it because there's no way it should ever leave it because this is so effective in a +1/+1 strategy, especially a human tribal +1/+1 strategy, where everybody on the team is going to have a +1/+1 counter. So you have a bunch of flyers out of nowhere. Now, granted, strictly bad when it's going to get removed, but if you're able to protect it in some way, or able to keep it on the battlefield for at least a couple turns, you're going to get a lot of use out of him.
It is more incremental advantage that will sneak up on a lot of people. Especially it's a very subtle card. It's like you will not notice it until you're like, oh, it's made everyone 10/10s.
Wait, you gave Galt to flying? Like that?
So wait, you gave Galt to flying? Wait a second, you have a 30/30 with flying? Oh, fuck.
Oh, I just died.
Reggie.
Stuff like that. So that is basically the last of my cards from this set in terms of the big ones I really like. David, lead us through the end of this.
All right, so I've got 3 additional cards I want to highlight from this set that I particularly love, both design and flavor, and just overall in general. The first one I want to call out is Villainous Wealth. It is an X black, green, and blue sorcery, which reads, target opponent exiles the top X cards of his or her library. You may cast any number of non-land cards with converted mana cost X or less from on them without paying their mana cost. This card is the definition of Feast or Famine. Like, you can either get, like, really nasty, powerful cards out of it. Like, you can get things like Omniscience and expropriate for basically nothing, and not only that, just steal them from your opponent. Or you can get Elvish Mystic, and it's funny. But I mean, this card is so wacky and so random and so over the top, like greedy, that I got to put it on this list because it's just so splashy.
See, I think my favorite use of Villainous Wealth is stealing somebody's combo win from them.
Yep,
God,
that's
it
pretty
feels
great.
So good.
That's a really good feeling.
Hey, look, you have a nice conspicuous Snoop there. I'll use that.
Yeah, how conspicuous is your Snoop?
It's like, oh, you just tutored for your combo piece that's going to win you the game? No, it's mine now.
Oh, you only put it on top of your deck instead of in your hand? Big mistake. All right.
Your win con, our win con.
My win con. All right. The second card I want to call out for being a personal favorite of mine is Utter End. 4 mana, 2 generic white and black, instant, which simply reads exile target non-land permanent. That is it. That is all it reads. This card does some work. It is quite a good removal option, EDH in particular. In fact, I always run it when I have the option to do so. And yeah, it's really as simple as it says. You pay 4 mana, you make something go away forever.
Has this card been power crept?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
It basically created an entire class of cards that are very similar to it, but have gotten a lot better just because of power creep.
Yeah.
But the fact that it started it is notable in itself.
And I still run it because there's no conditional on it.
Yeah.
Like with English, I'm making sometimes that 3 life loss matters.
Yep.
So, and the third and final card I want to call out, I don't have it listed on the sheet because I wanted to stun all of you, is Dragon Throne of Tarkir.
I knew that. I was surprised that you didn't put it.
Yeah. It is a 4 mana legendary artifact equipment, which reads equip creature as defender and tapped, pay 2 and tap to give other creatures you control trample and +X/+X until end of turn, where X is this creature's power. I've always liked the design of this card, but I can never find a good place for it until the Galta deck. You give this on Galta, you pay 2, you tap it, all of your creatures gain +12 and +12 in trample, which means they will usually kill your enemies.
It's amazing.
It's really nice when it goes off. Quabity, indeed. And that was it. Those are all of the cards I wanted to bring up.
Yeah. Cons of Tarkir, man. It started off the set block that kind of confused a lot of people for a little bit.
I think that set caused one of the most complex mana bases ever in Standard, simply because it had fetch lands.
Yeah.
Like you could run that's why Siege Rhino was banned in Standard, if I remember right. Or no, it wasn't.
I don't think it was ever banned in Standard.
But there's a reason why it's so ubiquitous. That it there are mana bases in Modern that are less complex than the mana bases that were in that Standard. It like Shocklands, right? Because after Ravnica, or is that?
I think it just missed the shocks.
I was about to say, I was like, if they had shocks in there, that's a Modern level mana base.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's overall, I'd say I really like this set. I like what it brought into Magic. The story itself was a bit convoluted, but it makes sense once it's all out in front of you. So if you view the story of this set by itself, it's confusing at the end because you're like, well, where do we go from here? And then going into Fate Reforged, and then after that, the Dragons of Tarkir, everything starts to make sense. It all kind of clicks together.
This is one of my favorite sets of all time. I think you could tell by the way I kind of talked about it at length.
Oh yeah, you gushed about it.
It's just the fact that it's so all in on this design tapestry that I think really makes it stand out, even amongst most other quality draft environments. I don't think there's any other that provide this much freedom to build whatever you want, which is really
make almost anything work in this environment.
Yeah. What the only flaw? Fuck Narset. I hate that card.
I almost put her on my list too, just to piss you off.
Yeah, fuck Narset. Hate that card. Everything else 10 out of 10.
Yeah, Narset's a problem. Even still today, it's just still a problem, but not as much because of power creep.
The card that we never thought was going to get power crept out has been power crept out.
It's gonna happen to every card eventually. You know, there's gonna be something out there. It's gonna be like, you need to scan a QR code for you to read the results of this card, and then
Jesus.
Then flip 12 coins, and hopefully half of them come up standing upright.
Are we making another Urza Planeswalker?
No. Oh, there's a new Ancestral Recall. It's called Ancestral Total Recall. It's draw 4 cards for
okay.
Arnold on it.
blue.
Yeah, I see a picture of Arnold on it and everything. Oh.
Get to the chopper.
Get your ass to Mars. But no, 10 out of 10. The set's 10 out of 10. I love it. Find it, play it. You owe it to yourself.
I call this set a dead Ugin out of 10.
I call this Ugin's Nexus looks like Aaron found it from Aaron's Founding Titan out of 10.
Okay, one Founding Titan out of 10. One dead Ugin out of 10. I guess I'm gonna go with I'm just gonna go with a Siege Runner out of 10. Fuck all of you. I'm taking that shit.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew he was gonna say it.
Yeah. Siege Runner out of 10.
Beautiful.
Yep.
We hope you all enjoyed. Make sure you follow us on X/Twitter and give us a like, subscribe if you enjoy the content. There's going to be more coming down the pipeline soon. And we'll see you next time. And remember, Magic is dead.
But not when you're playing this set.
Magic is alive in Tarkir.
Yep.